All right, let's talk about your career for a second. Have you ever just stopped and thought, okay, what's next? How do I actually get to the next level from here? It's a question we all ask ourselves, right? And honestly, it can feel a little overwhelming trying to figure out a clear path forward. So today, we're going to cut through all that noise and get down to some real, actionable steps.
So, what's the secret sauce? What really helps you move ahead? Is it just about working harder, being the most talented person in the room, or is it all about who you know? The truth is, it's kind of a mix of everything. And today, we've got the roadmap.
And we're not just making this up. We're pulling from some incredible advice from a leading recruiting firm called Agilon Finance. I mean, these are the people who see what works and what doesn't every single day. So this is basically the playbook, straight from the experts. Let's break down their top 10 tips.
Okay, so this first set of tips, it's all about the prep work. It's about getting your head in the game. Because before you can make any big moves on the outside, you've got to build a really solid foundation on the inside. All right, let's start with ground zero. Tip number 1. Before you can even dream about that next big thing, you've got to have a plan for today. And the advice is super simple. Make a list of your priorities. Now, this isn't just some random to-do list. Think of it as your daily battle plan for success.
So how do you make that list really work for you? Well, the article suggests writing down both your short-term goals, like what you need to get done this week, and your long-term goals, the big picture. And here's the most important part. You have to check in with yourself and do it often. It's like creating your own personal feedback loop to make sure you're always focused on what actually matters.
Okay, so once you know what you should be working on, tip number 2 asks a really tough question. Are you really present? You know what I mean. You might be at your desk, but is your brain checked out and thinking about a million other things? Being present means giving your full, undivided attention to whatever is right in front of you. That's the difference between just being busy and actually being effective.
And this all leads perfectly into the final part of building our foundation, creating your own goals. This is about looking way beyond your daily tasks. It's about deciding where you want to go professionally and then figuring out what skills you need to get there. The real key here is to take one small, deliberate step toward that goal every single day.
All right, so you've got your mind right, you've got your plan. Now it's time to pivot. Phase 2 is all about taking action, getting out there and engaging with the people and opportunities that are all around you.
First up in this section is a skill that, let's be honest, a lot of us struggle with: delegation. Tip number 3 is to learn how to work through others. And this is not about just dumping tasks on people. Not at all. It's a huge sign of trust that empowers your team, and it frees you up to think about the bigger, more strategic stuff. Seriously, it's a critical leadership skill no matter what level you're at.
Now, this next point is really cool because it's like a 2-for-1 deal. Tip 4 says you should always be looking for ways to broaden your skills. So think about going to professional development seminars, right? You're not just there to learn something new, it's also an amazing opportunity to network with influential people who could open some major doors for you later on.
Did you ever think that just grabbing a coffee with a coworker could be one of the smartest things you do for your career? Well, that's pretty much the whole idea behind tip number 5. Socialize with your colleagues. It is so much more than just taking a break from work. Trust me, it's a strategic move.
And here's why it's so smart. It helps you get the inside scoop on what's going on in other departments so you can see the bigger picture of the whole company. And maybe just as important, it shows everyone that you're a team player, someone who's connected and part of the company's culture.
And let's be real for a second. After all that skill building and networking, sometimes your career path can still feel like this, right? It's like you're in line for that promotion, but the line is just impossibly long. But you know what? That brings us to our final set of tips, the ones that are all about taking charge and, maybe jumping that queue.
So this brings us to the final and maybe the most important section. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you stop waiting for things to happen and you start making them happen. This is all about ownership.
So how do you actually take charge? Well, tip 7 says you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. What that means is you need to actively look for those projects that stretch you, the ones that force you to try something totally new. Because when you step out of your comfort zone, not only do you grow, but you might just stumble upon a hidden talent or a new passion you never knew you had.
Now, here's a total game changer. You have to be your own biggest fan. Tip 8 is pretty blunt. Be clear about what you want. If you truly believe you've earned a promotion, you have to ask for it. You can't just sit back and hope someone notices all your hard work. You have to state your case clearly and directly.
And here is the absolute master move for when you hear the word no.
If your boss says you're not ready, don't just get discouraged and walk away. You look them in the eye and ask, okay, what specific things do I need to achieve to qualify for that promotion? Just that one question completely changes the game. It turns a rejection into a roadmap.
And finally, let's talk about the long game with tips 9 and 10. Because you can't sprint a marathon, right? The same thing goes for your career. You have to take time off to relax and recharge. Your personal happiness is literally fuel for your professional performance. And look, if you're just not happy, don't settle. Either figure out how to transform the job you have or get the courage to go find a new one.
So, when you actually put all 10 of these tips together, you get more than just a list of good ideas. What you really have is a powerful formula for accelerating your entire career.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Listen to this. This comes directly from the president of Agilon Finance himself, Mr. Lebovitz. Following this advice isn't just about feeling better at your job, it leads to real, tangible results, earning more money, getting promoted sooner, and moving ahead way faster.
And that brings us to the end. We've laid out the whole playbook for you. But all the information in the world doesn't mean anything without action. So my question for you is pretty simple. Looking at this list, which one of these 10 powerful tips are you going to start with today?